Welcome back to the Midnight Gospel, where we fall asleep into dreaming of being there in our favorite Bible stories. Tonight, we begin with the story of a father watching the road from Jonah, chapter 2. These aren't sermons. They're stories retold slowly to help your body rest and your soul come home back to God. This video was made to help you drift to sleep while drawing near to something holy. Even if you fall asleep before the end, the story will keep walking with you. You don't have to listen closely. Just let it settle into your breath. You're here now. The day is behind you. The air around you is gentle. No reason to try or hurry. Maybe you can feel the quiet settling into your shoulders. Maybe you're not even sure if you're awake or not. That's okay. This is a place for letting go, a soft place to be nobody, just another soul who wandered home. If you want, you can let your eyes drift closed or leave them half open, just enough to blur the edges of the room. It's fine either way. You'll notice that even the shadows seem slow here. This story isn't loud. Nothing much happens. For a long time, the world turns the way it always has. The sky slips from blue to violet. Someone sweeps dust from their doorstep. A curtain moves in the breeze. In the village, someone pulls bread from the fire, careful not to burn their fingers. Further down the road, goats rustle in the grass. Sandals set beside a mat. Oil poured into a lamp. The sound of breathing. Yours and an old man's somewhere far away, waiting for his son to come home. Every morning he rises slowly, feels the ground cool under his feet, stretches, lets the morning light seep into his closed eyes before he opens them just a little. He walks quietly to the edge of the road, that's all. He stands, looks down the dusty path. Then he goes back inside, folds cloth on a low table, pours water from a little jar. Jonah prayed from the depths where the world was slow and still, where it felt safe to sink. He asked for nothing, only to be noticed. The father of the prodigal son, he doesn't chase or shout or scold the wind. He just waits, quietly. Every day he lets the minutes slip over him like water over stones. You might feel that kind of waiting in your body now, the slow pulse in your hands, the gentle rhythm of your breath. It's sacred, too. God is here in the ordinary, just watching with you. If your mind wanders or you miss a word, it's completely fine. This story was made to drift in and out like waves or quiet wind over grass. When you notice you're listening or not listening, let that be enough. You don't have to do anything. Just let me tell it and let sleep come for you quietly without hurry. Maybe you remember times you waited for something. Maybe you know what it's like to hope for someone's return. The father in this story doesn't know when or how his son will come home. He just trusts that love can last longer than wandering, that even in the dark someone is listening. Jonah's prayer said, "When my life was fainting away, I remembered the Lord and my prayer came to you." The father's hope is quieter, a hand folding linen, a glance toward the road. No miracle yet, but that's all right. In this space, it's enough to just wait together. Every so often, you can let go a little more. Your body knows. The weight drains from your arms, the air grows softer. Even the night feels unhurried. This is your permission to rest. The worries can wait. The story will keep watch while you drift. Nothing is expected of you. No one needs you to be strong or brave or even awake. Here, in the gentleness of night, you are simply seen. You are remembered in the quiet way the Father remembers his Son. in the way Jonah's prayer was heard echoing through soft darkness. Let your breath be slow. Let the quiet be your blanket. Even if you fall asleep, nothing will be missed. The story is safe to carry you home as long as you need. Whenever you're ready, or even if you're not, let the night be enough. A new day arrives so quietly that most people would not notice. There is no rooster, no spark of trumpet in the sky, just a pale, empty hush floating across the house like a gentle wave. Light has not decided what to do yet. It kneels behind the window shutters, waiting. The father opens his eyes because he is used to waking early. He hears nothing but his own breath, slow and steady, as if the world is holding it for him just for a moment. He does not hurry. There will be time to move, but for now, let this moment stretch. He lies still, the linen of his blanket rough but familiar where it brushes his chin. It smells of the sun and quiet soap, almost like nothing but comforting. His hands find the edge and he draws it back, careful not to let it fall in a heap. Mornings are safest when they begin in order. His feet reach for the coolness beneath. Stone, ancient and unchanging, welcomes him with a jolt of clean air. He pauses there, letting the cold work up from his heels to his waking bones. He takes a breath and then another, slow, even, like he is joining the silence instead of breaking it. A small cloud of dust gathers where he sets down each foot. It is nothing special, just proof that time does not stop for any of them. Dust waits for no man. He bends to fold the blanket, his back careful, his fingers old but knowing the habit of softness. Each crease is a kind of prayer, even if no one would see it that way. Daylight slides across the wall in thin gold lines. The room is plain, a cluster of pebbles near the door, a sandal upside down where he left it, a wooden bowl in a quiet corner. The world is not waiting for him to do anything important. It only waits with him. Even this silence is holy. He moves toward the door, the cuffs of his robe barely whispering along his legs, and the air inside still cool, still patient, seems to stretch out too, to make time for him. The morning outside is not awake yet. Nothing stirs in the courtyard except a restless chicken and the hush of something gentle on the wind. It is enough to walk slowly today. There are no orders to give, no voices to answer, no rush. He walks to the window and wipes his palm against the glass, leaving a trail through the soft film gathered in the night. There is no reason except that it feels familiar, like blessing the morning before anything else can reach it. A soft memory stirs, but he lets it rest. Today is only to be lived one breath at a time. Let the quiet stay as long as it wants. Sometimes the body needs slowness. Sometimes the soul does too. He stands, hand resting on the windowsill, and listens. There are birds, maybe, or maybe not. The world, for now, holds its sound inside its chest, as if afraid to wake the dreams still clinging to the edges of the sky. The father takes another breath, steady, filling every corner of his chest, and then he exhales so slowly he almost falls back to sleep. He wonders if God hears small things like this. The soft rise and fall of a person sitting alone in a room before the day decides what it will become. Maybe these are the prayers no one ever notices, but are heard all the same. He opens the door, just a crack. Early sun splashes his bare toes in stripes. The earth smells of old rain and fresh hay. The stones outside were swept yesterday, but a curl of dust spins along the step as if to remind him nothing stays perfect for long. That is all right. It is more than enough. He steps outside, his body slow, his feet making soft shapes in the dust. For a moment, he does not need to be anyone at all, not a father, not a master, not a man waiting. Just a person letting the morning begin around him, breath by gentle breath. Let this quiet unfold. Let it be boring. Let the peace of it cover everything, even for just a moment. There is time for the road, for sandals, for dishes, for old worries half remembered. But not yet. For now, he stands in the doorway and lets the day begin, with nothing more important than the chance to exist, wrapped in the gentle weight of dawn. The days start early before the sun is too bright. My eyes open to the roof beams, lines of gold and shadow shifting across the walls. Somewhere, birds are already calling in the fig tree. I move my feet from the mat. I let them rest on the cool ground, one breath, two, just listening. There is nothing to hurry toward. All days begin this way now. There's a jar near the door, same jar, same weight. I run my finger across the rim, cool, smooth clay. I lift it and let the loop of rope swing, empty for now. I stand still, feeling all the air in my chest, letting it fall away. Nothing different about today, but even so, every morning I give thanks before I take a step. The old prayer, no one notices, but it's there. Outside, the dust hasn't settled yet. My sandals press patterns in the powder. The village is quiet, only soft voices from behind closed doors, maybe a dog down the street. My feet know this walk so well. Down the lane, past the baked walls where shadows hide and wait, pebbles skip under my heel. Another step, then another. The air tastes like bread and wet earth. I wait just for a moment by the gate, letting the light sit on my skin. Every day I come here. Some days it means more. Some days I'm just moving. Today my heart is quiet but alive, the way the well water settles when no one stirs it. I remember when he was small, running on ahead, always first to spot the morning donkey or the neighbor's cat squeezing beneath a fence. I let that memory come and go, just like a small wave at rest. The path to the well is just stones and dirt, but I treat it gently. Every footstep sinks in a little. Sand slips out sideways. I breathe in, then let it go. The jar is heavy, even empty. Sometimes that surprises me. I pass two old men, heads bowed together. They nod, I nod. No one speaks. It is early. The stillness is good here. At the well, the world changes. The air is cooler. Shadows gather at the rim. I kneel to set the jar down. For a moment, I watch the dust fall from my ankle. My knees crack. I rest my hands on the warm stone and let the stone press back, solid and sure. No rush. I listen. The rope is coiled, thick and rough, waiting. I take it in both hands and lower the bucket down. Hand over hand, the rope moves, scraping softly across the stone lip. That sound, the creak, the hush, the slow, spinning rhythm. I hear my own breath steady. In, out, like water rising and settling. The bucket lands with a soft splash. I wait. Drops echo. Ripples fan out, slow and gentle, touching the edges then fading away. I watch the ripples, the way they come and go, never in a hurry. I let that settle inside me. I draw up the bucket. It feels heavier, full and cold. Water drips onto my thumb, down my wrist. I watch each bead fall, a pattern, a quiet rhythm. My arms and shoulders ache, but I let them. This is just my body doing what it always does. I empty the bucket into my jar, slow so it doesn't spill. The water makes a hollow sound as it settles, another breath. The jar is still now, cool to the touch. I trace the rim again. Little things matter more than they used to. I watch my reflection in the water. Old face, tired eyes. Sometimes I see a shadow just there out of the corner. I know it isn't him, but I like the thought that somewhere he might be near. I let the water remind me, even what leaves returns. Sometimes the waiting is all there is, and waiting is enough. I rest my hand on the jar, feeling the pulse of the cool clay, the way it meets my palm. I close my eyes. I whisper the old prayer from Jonah, soft only for me. Out of the belly of Sheol I cried, and you heard my voice. Not every prayer is loud. Most go unsaid, but they're heard just the same. I breathe again in the quiet. The water in the jar settles, not a ripple now. The day is just beginning. My work is simple work, each act a devotion. Drawing water is nothing. Drawing water is everything. The world moves so fast, but here, in these moments, nothing moves at all. I tie the jar with rope, careful not to tip. I lift it to my shoulder and feel the pull, steady, grounded. My steps move back toward the village. Each rhythm the same, the jar, my feet, my breath. I pause by a stone wall, letting my heartbeat match the quieted water inside. No hurry at all. Someone's making bread nearby, scent rising through an open window. I close my eyes. I remember laughter, soft, far away. I let the dust fall from my sandals. I let the sun find my face between the shadows. Even now, even alone, I am kept. No sign yet, but I walk home full. He asked for nothing and still felt full. The door waits for me. My hands steady the jar. I set it down safe by the mat and watch the last drop settle. One more breath, waiting is holy too. The Lord knows my steps, even as I walk slow, holding only water, watching the ripples rising and resting, always returning, always settling, like breath. Morning sits close in the corners. The small room is warm, the kind of warmth that comes from old stones, low sun, and the memory of many meals. My steps make almost no sound. Already I can smell the wheat, the simple smell, undone by nothing except a touch of the day before. I press the dough with slow hands, turning, pressing, feeling the rough flour soften beneath my fingers. It sticks a little, pulls away, then settles again. Not too thick, not too thin, just what I would have eaten as a boy. Meals haven't changed much. There is comfort in sameness, the way my hands know what to do before my mind catches up. The dust from the morning doesn't matter. The dough does not mind my silence or how long I stand, looking out the small window at the quiet road. I shape another flatbread, lay it gently on the stone at the edge of the fire, and let the heat begin its slow work. Nothing rushes here. The world outside might wonder, but inside, bread waits in its own time. The crackle of the fire is soft, old. Sometimes I pick out twigs that burn too quickly, choosing instead those slow-burning olive roots that have kept my house warm since I was young. I press my palm to the bread, gentle, then firmer. I turn it. The brown side lifts an easy fragrance that fills the room, not sweet, not sharp, just grain-rounded, deep, familiar. Oil sits in a shallow clay dish by the fire. I watch the golden pool catch the light, shifting between pale yellow and something darker at the edges. There is time always to notice these little things. Bread bubbles at one side, then flattens as I touch it. The oil, too, changes with warmth. It waits without complaint. Maybe God is like the oil, I think, a quiet undoing of dryness, waiting with patience for the bread to come home. Sometimes the world shakes with miracles. Sometimes it's the way flatbread waits silent for the right moment. I sit beside the hearth, tracing the rim of the dish. My hands are dusted white from flour, my knuckles dry. Each time I wipe them on my robe, a little cloud drifts to the floor. Even the mess here is ordinary. No one rushes me. There's nothing to be late for. The road can wait, bread can rest. When I lift the bread from the fire, it sags softly, almost folding into itself, edges crisp, the middle steam warm. I lay it flat, pour oil in a steady loop, careful not to spill too much. Sometimes the oil catches a thread of sun. Sometimes it sits quietly, waiting until I tear the bread and let it soak. The oil is fruit and light and soil, all at once, green under the gold with a trace of last season's rain. The scent fills me up. Warm bread, smooth oil, a quiet room. I do not say grace aloud. My gratitude is in the turning, in the pressing, in the way the bread opens as I break it. I think of Jonah, alone and waiting in the belly of loss, praying not for a feast, but for the plain rescue of being seen. I do not hurry my chewing. I do not count my blessings. I just let hunger leave, slow as the sun climbs the wall. Outside I hear birds, but mostly I notice the spaces where their song would be, pauses stretching into silence between a branch creaking, a stone tumbling in the yard. The day hums not with activity but with resting. Even the air feels thick with calm, and the oil carries its scent a little farther, over the rim of the dish, over the table, maybe even out the door. The bread never mixes perfectly with the oil. There are always spots drier, some soaked, each bite its own small surprise. I chew slowly. I let my eyes close, not from tiredness, but because I want the taste to last before it disappears. There is nothing to prove here, only the work of the meal, hands, fire, wheat, patience. Hunger fades not because it is satisfied, but because it is heard. The meal becomes enough just by being noticed. Each swallow is an answer to something I cannot name, a prayer unsaid but still received. I remember how the old song said God listened even through walls. I wonder if he listens through windows and clay. Maybe he sits on the other side of silence, counting the quiet chews and breathing with me. The whole room is filled with what remains. The flour on the board, the coolness in the dish after the oil is gone, the whisper of fire turning to ash. I wash my hands slowly, letting the water run over my knuckles, washing away the last of today's meal. I do not hurry, because there is nothing holy in finishing fast, nothing wise in rushing away from being filled. The day moves, stretching, pausing, carrying me with it. Every sound is soft, the water, the breath in my chest, the birds waiting for their turn to sing. There are days filled with longing, when the road outside is emptier than I remembered, when footsteps never come. Those are the days when bread and oil matter most, when preparing food is a prayer, and every unspoken hope is folded into dough and tangled with the sweet ache of waiting. Even in this, God is near, securing each step, listening for each sigh, watching over every slow meal, just as he did for Jonah, just as he will for all sons who come home. Let this moment stretch, breathe with the bread, listen to the pauses, taste the gift of waiting. Even this silence, is holy. The night listens with you. Sand crept in where the leather met my heel. I never brushed it away. The road was its own kind of prayer, stretched between the gate and nowhere in particular, just dust, small stones softened by morning light. I walked the same path, unhurried. One step, breathe in. The next, breathe out. My sandals made a tapping sound, simple and even, like a heart that doesn't need to hurry. Wind slipped by and brushed the edge of my robe. I felt it, soft and cool for just a moment, then gone. There was no rush to reach the end of the road. Some days it seemed there was no end at all, just a gentle turning where road met field, and then it vanished into grass and quiet. A bird hopped on the low stone wall. Its wing flicked, then smoothed. I noticed, then walked on. One step, pause. One step, breathe. Stones rolled slightly under my weight, reminding me that the world is loose, never fully settled. I remembered Jonah, whispering in his darkness, not knowing if rescue would come, and then finding breath anyway. Every quiet walk became a way to remember him, a holy waiting, even when nothing changed. Just the same dust settling, the same road stretching, the same sun overhead. Some days I carried a cloth, folded small in my hand to wipe sweat from my brow. Most days I left it at home. I liked the simplicity. Sweat could dry on its own. Robes could flutter a little, brushed by wind, heavy with the memory of work and waiting. One step, a breath for hope. Another, a breath for every prayer I never spoke aloud. The world didn't listen. I did. The gravel shifted beneath my foot. Sometimes it made a crunch just loud enough to pull me forward. Sometimes it made nothing at all. The silence on the road felt as sacred as any word. Even when I saw no one, no neighbor, no sun, I kept walking. The olive trees on the hill barely moved in the breeze. Their shadows stretched, long and thin, across the road. I let my feet find the cool part, even though the dust clung more there. It felt good to let life set its own pace. Every step was a little prayer, though I never called it that. No one noticed. I only noticed the way my shoulders relaxed, my hands feeling empty but not alone. After a while, the road behind me looked the same as the road ahead. I never hurried. No one ever waited for my return. Still, I found holiness in the way each foot pressed the earth, in the pause between steps, in the air that filled and left my chest. A walk without destination, a breath slow and present, a prayer, quiet and honest as dust. Let this moment stretch, let every silence be holy. The road is long, but I walk it anyway, and still I am met. Today I walk to the edge of the market, not to buy much. I just like to be near the noise and the bustle, but not inside it. They say it wakes up before sunrise, but I never hurry. I wait for the heat to spill onto the ground, and then I drift past baskets and tables, past stalls where people trade olives for bread or herbs for a promise. The air holds so many voices at once, loud, spilling over each other, people calling out to be heard or seen or to make their deal. I don't stand in the crowds. I find the quiet spots. There are always a few at the corner by the empty wine jars, in the shade behind the figs. I let people pass and bump, their shoulders brushing, arms waving. Someone somewhere is angry. Someone else laughs too sharply. I slip my hands into my robe pockets and do not speak unless spoken to. Sometimes a child runs by, trailing a coin. Sometimes a goat pulls at its rope. I watch the patterns, Nothing changes, not really, but each day it feels new. My sandals make a hush against the dust. I step slow, people move fast. No one waits, but I'm never late. My breathing feels steady. I let the noisy world tuck itself around me, like a river I can watch without stepping in. I see the figs, brown and soft, skin wrinkled. I pick one up, roll it in my fingers. I like the roughness, the gift of fruit, even if I never eat it. Nobody asks why I linger. I guess I blend into the shade. Tonight I think about Jonah when he was deep in the belly of trouble, how the market must feel like the sea above him, all commotion, all churn, but inside, right in the middle, a tiny pocket of quiet. He spoke to God there. You can say a prayer with your hands in the dust and no one knows. People call to me now and then. An old friend nods, someone offers a price. I say as little as I need. I am not here for a bargain. Everything I need I already have. I touch a smooth clay cup and put it back. It does not matter if it is mine. Let this moment stretch a little longer. Even this silence is holy. I stand near the baskets of olives, the promise of oil for another night. The sun shifts. Voices rise and fall. Still I linger, letting the day pass around me. My presence is a slow stone in the current, unmoved, unnoticed, but part of the shape of things. Someone nearby fixes a sandal. Bread drops, then is picked up and dusted off, soft as a sigh. I remember my son's laughter once in a place like this. The memory does not ache, it just glows quietly, safe in my chest. No one notices the prayer, but it is heard. Even here in the hum of people needing and calling and living, my soul feels still. The world spins on. I am empty-handed. I am full, all the same. The night listens with you, sleep finds the still places. Rest in the shadows, God is near, somewhere between the figs and the dust. Some afternoons, when the sun pulls itself quietly across the roofs, he finds his way to the olive tree near the edge of the field. The same one. The grass there feels softer, almost matted by habit or hope or the slow weight of waiting. He carries nothing, just himself. Sometimes his hands remember the shape of a basket, but today they rest, open and empty in his lap. The air here moves softly, warm but not heavy. Leaves overhead shift in a private conversation, and their shadows glide across his skin, slow, like a hand smoothing wrinkled linen. He doesn't look for omens in the rustling branches. It is enough just to be here, quiet, among the roots and the earth. He breathes in the green scent, the smell of dust, and allows his breath to follow the slow dance of light and darkness above. In and out. He closes his eyes. Shadows move across his face, then move away, come back again. When he was younger, he thought silence meant nothing was happening. Now he knows silence is full. It's just gentle, not empty. He listens for sandals on the road. He listens for a voice calling out. But today there is only the low hum of bees, the distant sound of water somewhere, and the lazy creak of wood overhead. His heart slows without asking for it. The world asks for nothing of him right now, and still he feels full. Even his worry feels softer, like it's taken off its shoes. The olive leaves turn, catching slivers of sunlight, letting the cool pattern flicker over his shoulders. A kind reminder that time is moving, but not too fast. Sometimes a memory will pass by, of laughter before supper, or of hands brushing bread crumbs from the table, but these memories are gentle, half-formed. They don't stick. He lets them go with his breath. in and out again. The shadows climb up his arms, then slip away unhurried. He stays still, matched to their pace, not resisting, not reaching, just letting the stillness happen around him and through him. He sits until he forgets his body somewhat, until the world feels slow enough to hold. Maybe another father is sitting under another tree, somewhere else. Maybe God is sitting with them all, listening too, hearing every breath. He thinks of the story of Jonah, praying from the belly of the great fish, surrounded on every side by darkness and water, still speaking, still heard. He wonders if God hears silent prayers just as clearly, the prayers folded inside a breath, held under the branches of an olive tree. The shadows shift again. A breeze picks up stray dust. He breathes in, watching the patterns move across the ground, in and out, slow as the flicker of sunlight. Even this quiet is holy. Even this silence is answered. He stays a little longer, letting his eyes half close, letting the world soften around the edges. There is nothing to do, nothing to fix. He just listens and lets his breath follow the slow rhythm of light, shadow, and the ancient comfort of being quietly seen. He brushed the dust from his robe. The morning air was still and soft. Not much to do yet. No crowds, no voices. Just the sound of birds and the tap of his own sandals on the worn path. The world felt smaller right after sunrise, in a good way, in a safe way. He walked as he always did, not in a hurry. Each day he traced the old road. Today it was cool and faintly sweet. He stopped by the edge of the field, eyes resting on nothing much. His hands found an apricot from the low branch, warm from the sun already. He rubbed it, gentle, listening to the leaves overhead. A neighbor came by, their steps making the dry grass whisper. There wasn't much said, just a nod that almost felt like a greeting, and eyes that lingered for a moment, sharing something that needed no words. They didn't smile. They didn't look away either. He offered the apricot, his hand open, palm steady. The neighbor took it and peeled away a piece quietly, their breath barely stirring the quiet. They ate slow and careful. Juice stuck to their thumb. It dripped to the ground. Neither laughed, neither spoke. Two men standing side by side, holding the morning between them. The world kept turning, slower here than anywhere else. They watched the road. Each waited, not really for anything, but because waiting together was a kind of company. It was enough. The apricot's sweetness lasted long, filling the spaces where words would have been. He wiped his palm on his robe. The neighbor handed back the pit, a silent thank you so small it could hardly be noticed. But it was there. There was no talk of sons or loss, no stories or explanations, just the sound of sandals on hard dirt as the neighbor moved on. The sun found their shoulders warm. A breeze tugged at the edges of his cloak. The silence was full, not empty. He listened to his own breath for a while. He thought of very little. Let this moment stretch. Even this silence is holy. The night listens with you. He did not ask for news. He did not plan for the day. He stood there, companioned by kindness so small it could fit inside a fruit. He felt full. He asked for nothing and still felt full. The quiet lingered. No one noticed the prayer, but it was heard. Two men in the morning, sharing fruit. That was enough. The sun poured itself slowly against the far edge of the window, just barely enough light to see the curve of my fingers, the quiet nest where the ink pot lived. It was the dullest time of day, after the animals had settled, after the doors were drawn together, before anyone wondered what tomorrow might hold, I would sit, the same place each dusk, the old bench by the shutter where I could feel the warmth slip away, bit by bit. Not that it was a grand place for thoughts, just a corner that listened, as I dipped the pen and let it wait above the parchment. Each night my hand learned again that it wasn't about the words. Scratch, pause, scratch. Some nights I copied a whole psalm, line by line, not searching for meaning. Other nights I let the pen wander in gentle, uncertain shapes, the sound of it just beneath hearing, like a moth working at the edge of a lamp, like the breath between sleep and waking. Tonight it is the old prayer that comes almost by accident, the one Jonah might have whispered from the belly of remembering. I do not know why my hand frames it. I do not ask. Words for deliverance. Words for being carried back up through the dark. I let them come and go, no hurry, not needing them to be true again, just letting them keep me company in the near night. Scratch, pause, scratch. The sound is all. Safe, endless. Some words are for the Lord. Some are for myself. Sometimes I just feel the motion and forget what I meant to say. Dusk reshapes the walls, shadow leaning in close. The day is softening at the edges. My eyes blur, but the pen moves. Scratch, scratch, no great thought comes. No lesson. Only the steady, sacred repetition. A line, a space. The wax in the lamp thickening, the ink drying in its well. My hand sags, but carries on faithful to a rhythm older than me. I do not need to understand what I write. Even the air feels holy at this hour, as if each small movement, each arch of the wrist is prayer enough. No one would notice this. No one in the house knows what passes between my breath and the page. But here, in the soft hush between one line and the next, I feel fullness settle. I asked for nothing, and still I am full. Let this moment stretch, scratchy pause, scratch. My mind folds itself like linen. I think of the sun, far or near, but the pen does not write of him tonight. It is only for the dust, the fading sun, the old prayer rising. I set the pen down longer each time. Night comes slow but sure. The last lines are written half blind, trusting this quiet. The parchment holds what I cannot say. Even this silence is holy. The road waits tomorrow. For now I rest. The endless hush of writing at dusk, listening for God in the small, steady scratch. Somewhere in the distance I hear them, little voices rolling down the road like marbles. Their feet thump lightly behind the olive trees. They pass by our house most mornings, always half whispers and soft, secret giggles. It's nothing urgent, no shouts. Their laughter is like water on stone, quiet, skipping, never sharp. Each sound stays tucked in the corners of the day, never asking me to join. I like it best like this, from afar. I stand still, gathering the morning in my hands, listening. Today their play drifts through an open window. I don't see what game, only the hush of excitement, plans blooming for a moment, then scattering in the dust. I let their joy move around me, gentle and unhurried. I think of Jonah, waiting in the belly of the fish, alone but never really lost. The sea hushed all around him, the world going on quiet and unseen. It's how these mornings feel. The pulse of life is steady, even if not mine to step into. The children's laughter slips sweeter through the walls than any story I could join. I remember days when I ran too, but now my running stays in the garden, with slow steps and cracked sandals. There's peace in not being seen. Light finds its own way across the yard. The olive leaves tremble gently when someone races by, chasing a cloth ball made from old rags and new hope. I hear a stick tapping the ground, 1, 2, 3, and another child's careful shush. Still, no need to look. I breathe into the comfort of being nearby but not needed. There's something holy about youth continuing all by itself. It sounds like a promise whispered through leaves, like God's voice echoing off old brick. Generation after generation, they will pass by. I will watch and listen until the voices belong to someone else entirely. For now, I let the laughter stretch the morning wider, wider, until it feels like rest. I ask for nothing. I have enough. Their joy isn't mine to carry, just to hear. And in listening, I feel reassured that life moves on, quietly, slowly, carrying every hope, every sorrow, every sacred secret. The sun shifts and I wait. Even this silence is holy. The laughter becomes a gentle thread sewing me into the day. Not loud, never intrusive, just a distant hymn of comfort. Let this moment stretch. Let the peace in their voices ease the air around you. You don't have to join in. Not every joy needs to shake the earth. Some happiness only asks to be overheard, trusted, let be. The night will come and laughter will quiet. But for a while, let yourself rest inside this, the slow hush after children pass. God is here in the dust, in the silent blessing of being left alone to listen. The sun falls low, drawing the shadows longer along the path. In the quiet hush of evening, the father steps outside. His sandals press gently into the dust. The wooden gate creaks, a familiar sound, never urgent. He eases himself onto the small bench by the entrance, resting his hands in his lap, palms up. Sometimes he closes his eyes and listens to the hush. Sometimes he finds himself counting the breaths. Each night holds the same gentle pattern. There is no hurry. He leans back, shoulders soft, waiting. Waiting is the only thing he knows for sure. The road lies empty, but he lets his gaze linger. Not with hope, not with grief, just with the simple rhythm of being here. Stillness stretches between the distant olive trees. He watches the gold dust float and settle, each mote turning in the last light. Every sound is small, the coo of a dove, the faraway laugh of a neighbor. The world keeps moving whether the boy returns or not. And so the father waits, steady as the day winding down. Every day brings the same gentle scene. He watches. The gate stands as it always does. Shadows drift across the path. He waits. The sky folds itself into deeper blue. His waiting does not gather speed. There is no rush. Time belongs to God, so he lets the moments pass over him like water over stone, slow and patient. He asks for nothing and still feels full, hands resting, mind quiet, breath mingling with the breath of evening. He listens to the silence as if it were a friend. No one notices the prayer, but it is heard. Every night his heart beats out the same small offering, silent, steady. Let this moment stretch. Sometimes he wonders why he waits. Sometimes he waits without wonder. The dust on the road glows amber, then dim. He lingers, scanning the path, not for news or a sign, but because the waiting itself has become its own blessing. Even this silence is holy in the shallow dusk. The night listens with him. No shape appears on the horizon, but the father does not rise in disappointment. He does not count the empty days. He simply waits. The soft ache of longing is part of the rhythm, folding itself into each breath. Tonight is the same as any. The gate, the quiet, the gentle hope that does not force a reckoning. He waits, he watches. No expectation rises, only presence, only patience. This is his prayer, waiting quietly with no urgency at all. Night slips gently over the fields, the last stretch of light turns everything blue. He stands at the open window, watching the road fade to nothing. Even the dust has settled. The far horizon, which seemed endless in the warm daytime, softens into shadow now, almost like the world is breathing out. He moves quietly across the room, the cool stones underfoot, the well-worn cloth in his hands as he folds it by habit, feeling every crease. He smooths it flat, sets it by the bed. He takes one slow breath after another, as if he can stretch the night wide enough to hold his longing. In the distance, the road is just a memory, barely a ghost in the dimness. He traces it in his mind, following the curl of it in the darkness, like a river still running somewhere, steady, slow, unseen. Tonight, the house is still. No footsteps at the door, no voice calling out. Only the soft hush of his own breath, deep and quiet, rising and falling with the thought of miles, each one a little prayer sent down the road. He checks the latch just a touch. The olive wood feels cool, familiar. He looks up, sees the low moon pressing silver through the branches. You know where he is, his heart whispers. So I will wait. He kneels beside his bed, knees finding their place in the old shape in the mat. Words barely form, keep him, bring him through the night, be near. His prayer drifts out with the breeze, lost in the hush. He lies down slowly, the linen covers easy and warm. The silence spreads all around, a blessing of its own. Stillness holds me, the Lord knows my breath, I am not forgotten. God walks slowly too, grace is here. There is enough for tonight. He will come home in your time, Lord. Amen, amen, amen. He sits at the low table, a bit of bread on his palm, olives in a clay bowl, a few dark figs. Not much changes in the room. The day in the fields is over, and supper arrives without fuss. He takes a slow bite. The bread is soft, a little chewy with its quiet, grainy taste. You can hear him chew, a muted rhythm, gentle as breathing. The olives, too, are ordinary. There's a saltiness there and the brief tap of pit against teeth. He pauses, just sitting with the sound of his own swallowing. In these pauses, the air does nothing. He sits, letting each bite be its own rest. Night creeps across the walls, the stone floor cooling. He chews another fig, a little sticky, sweet, and mild. The meal is not meant to fill or impress. It is just what is needed now, nothing more. After each bite, he waits. For a breath or two. It isn't gratitude he's thinking of or wanting. It's just that eating slowly feels right. No hurry. Nothing to rush toward or recover from. It's a kind of prayer he doesn't speak, not even in his mind. His hands rest in his lap between mouthfuls. He remembers a prayer he once heard, a man at sea, lost, praying from inside the hushed belly of grief. Jonah's words, somewhere beneath his memory. That hope and hunger can be the same thing. Sometimes just sitting in the dark and waiting is faith. He takes another small piece of bread. He breaks it with his thumb. Chews, quiet. The whole room seems to wait with him. Only the soft sound of fabric shifting, swallowed air, a table creak, a cricket outside. Nothing urgent, nothing bright. Just bread and figs and olives and the holiness of eating when no one is watching. He asks for nothing and somehow feels full. Let this quiet supper stretch out. Let each pause hold you so you unconsciously breathe slower. No one notices the prayer, but it is heard. To eat slowly is to rest in God. The meal finishes gently without closing words. Plates stay where they are, crumbs left scattered, a simple sign that enough was received and nothing was wasted. The night deepens. The room darkens. Somewhere, a prayer has already been returned home, a spoken hunger, finally at rest inside the ordinary. Let boredom be sacred. Let stillness do the work. Let each slow breath bring you closer to holiness, one quiet bite at a time. The night settles in slowly as it always does, a long, gentle breath across the yard, cooling the dust, quieting the day. After supper, there is little left to do. The house leans into itself. The corners sigh, the grain of the wood relaxes, the last warmth of bread lingering in the air. I sit outside, on the low stone wall where clothes are sometimes folded, shirts resting easy from the line. My hands, finally still, open against my knees. I watch my breath drift out and disappear while the day fades from gold to gray. Somewhere, a sheep shifts its weight in the pen. The slow rustling of hay floats on the breeze. Night birds start to trade low whistles, calling down the darkness. I don't answer. There's nothing that needs a reply tonight. The air itself is soft with listening. Not long after, another sits down beside me. His shape familiar, not quite close enough to touch. He sinks into the hush as if knowing words would bruise it. For a while, that's all there is. The gentle scrape of a sandal in dust, the quiet music of someone breathing beside you. We stare straight ahead. The ground, the road beyond, the dry stripe where there once was rain. Above us, the first honest stars wake up. No one points, we just see them together. The crickets begin and the house settles further, pipes cooling under the bench. Our knees, the same height, make dark shapes across the ground. There's nothing awkward, nothing missing. It's as if the world for once is in practice, well-tempered silence, nothing out of place or needing to be filled. My thoughts are quiet as flat stones. Every once in a while, a memory tries to speak, a child's voice shouting from long ago, the ache of a foot that walked too far. But the night presses gently, and even those thoughts forget the need to rise. I think of Jonah, breathing low in the darkness, his prayers more silent than spoken. Sometimes just being there is all a prayer needs. That is enough tonight. The boy beside me exhales softly. I hear the shiver in his breath, but he's not cold. Our shared space is small but wide enough for each of us. He doesn't have to say why he came home. I don't ask. My arm stays at my side. His shoulder finds mine without a word. The closeness is quiet, not urgent, the way water finds the shape of its bowl. A jar at my feet, warm from the day, holds the last pour of oil. We won't use it tonight. Even making bread can wait. In this stillness, food tastes better left for dawn. The best thing I can offer is the silence that lets him stay. The stars gather. I try to count them, then forget how far I've come. My son sits beside me and the world is full without speaking. We watch the dust settle on our feet, ankles almost touching. Each of us waiting for nothing at all. In the distance, someone closes a door. The sound is small. The night swells around it, a gentle hush, a gentle embrace. No one is looking for anyone else to speak. We sit as two men who know each other in the oldest, quietest way. Sometimes I watch the moon catch on the edge of the fence. My eyes water a little, not from sadness, just from the cool air. He notices, maybe, but he says nothing, and neither do I. There's no lesson left for tonight. Whatever needs forgiving was already carried out in the open, like laundry in the sun. We listen together. For the first time in a long time, I feel not alone when I'm not talking. The ache in my body settles. The ache in my heart is smaller, gentle as new grass. We are weary but not abandoned. We are home, even in our silence. The world is too old and kind tonight to chase us indoors. After a while, someone, maybe me, maybe him, shifts again. There's the soft thump of a sandal slipping off, the hush of a robe. The stars keep watch. I breathe in, then out. The night is deep and familiar. This is the tenderness of sitting together, not needing to speak. All the most important things already known and the rest left alone. There is more comfort in this hush than in any words I could give. There is a prayer in the stillness, a blessing in every breath we did not try to fill with speech. The world is quiet around us. My son stays near, and I remember. God is close too, even when no one says a word. Sometimes the truest company is silent. Sometimes the softest miracle is simply being met at last, with nothing demanded, nothing explained. The stars are brighter now. Together we listen for nothing, and find that everything needed is already here. The memory stays close but faded, softer than dust on stone. I do not hold it tightly. The day my son walked the long road home. It never asks to be told. It simply lingers around the edges of morning light, moving as quietly as my own breath. Most days I forget the shape of the front gate. I forget the exact sound the old wood made when I went out to sweep the stones before sunrise. My hands knew the broom by heart. The morning air smelled of cool earth and olive, faint salt from the sea somewhere far. Birds sometimes began their slow calling early. I once cared for every song, counted each one. In time, I stopped marking them. The world moved on. Somewhere along the years, a pair of sandals appeared in my mind more often. Not new, not clean. The memory does not show me his face. Only feet, tired as if they carried the weight of all the hills for 100 days. One foot, then the next. I never hear his voice in the memory. Just the sound of breath, small and uneven, carried on the road. It is all simple here. I remember folding cloth at the gate, sun lying low, shadows stretching out. I did not pray aloud. I did not plan. My hands moved and my heart kept quiet. There were figs in a basket, dust on my robe, the air as soft as sleep. The waiting was not a heavy thing, not anymore. He had been gone as long as he needed. In the memory, nothing ever rushes. His steps do not quicken, and neither do mine. There is no running, no announcement at the door. Even the wind stays slow. I cannot remember who first spoke, or if words were spoken at all. Only the gentle hush between us, something settling onto the earth like evening dew. Sometimes, as the days pass, the picture comes to me while I'm kneading bread. The flour clings to my fingers. The sun moves behind the clouds, and I find myself looking toward the horizon. There are no visions, no promises. Just the stretch of road, soft dust rising around a pair of feet. The world holds its breath. He was not a stranger, but there was distance. His shadow reached for mine across the stones, slow and uncertain. My arms knew what to do. They opened not in triumph, not in surprise. It was like reaching for a folded blanket or gathering the small goats home for the night. Gentle, unhurried. I felt the robe catch on thorn and sand, the weight of another body close. We stood there, both of us silent. I cannot recall if I spoke a blessing or simply pressed my hand to his shoulder. Every memory is quieter than the last. The sun had not yet set. The sky glowed, nothing holy, just the color of sleep coming soon. I never asked where he had been. I could see it in the way he did not meet my eyes at first, in the tired way he let my embrace hold him. He asked for nothing and still felt full. I remembered suddenly the taste of lentils shared on winter nights, the small cup of wine turned warm in my palm. Home is not a word said aloud, but a feeling that fills the air, even in silence. Once I remembered the story of Jonah floating soft through an old psalm. How deep the waters felt, how alone, then brought up, almost asleep, to land again. Father's memory is like that, a slow surfacing. No miracle announced itself. No great crowd saw us. Only the slow turning of breath, the soft stirring of dust beneath our feet. The days that followed returned to being ordinary. Bread rose in the oven. Water splashed in the bucket at dawn. Sandals were mended. The goats came home one by one. He sat under the fig tree, not saying much. I pressed linen against the evening chill. His laughter was rare, but it came soft as if testing the air. I never told the servants what to feel. I never sat to give the story its lesson. The memory is not a parable. It is simply the way my hands remembered his shoulders, or how dust settles quietly after footsteps vanish. No one noticed the prayer, but it was heard. Some nights when sleep comes late, I find myself waiting for another return, not from far, but from silence, the feeling that something lost might someday come home. The gate never creaks. The robes brush stone, slow and steady. I let the memory play out, colorless at the edges, safe as folded cloth. He never said why. I never needed to know. Return is its own language, spoken in the breath between two people, side by side in the soft light. And it is enough that the road still holds our steps, that the house stands open. That time can pass as quietly as this. Even the memory, faint and worn smooth, is holy tonight. Let this moment stretch until even dreams feel like simple prayers answered in sleep. The night listens with you. The night has gathered itself, quiet in the small spaces between footsteps. Inside, a lantern sits low near the floor, its glass warm to the touch. The flame is steady but not proud. It waits. Every so often, the flame leans in a draft. It flickers softly, never hurried, never sharp. Shadows stretch across the clay wall, brushing over baskets undisturbed. The light is gentle. It travels just far enough. I sit on the packed earth, my back against cool stone. No sound but the faint hiss of the wick, the lantern breathing, almost as if it keeps watch with me. I remember this feeling from other nights, waiting, holding, hoping. The flame bows low for a moment before lifting itself upright again, as if it too remembers something deeper. Shadows swirl, not in warning but with the slow calm that knows how to wait. In the quiet, I think of Jonah, deep in his waiting place. Not in a house with lantern light, but lost in darkness where no lamp could reach. Still in his prayer, the darkness became a companion, not an enemy. The waters closed in, and yet you brought up my life from the pit, O Lord my God. The flame bows again. My eyes are heavy, drawn into its rhythm. It moves with a tired gentleness, as if drawn by the same gravity that calls my body down to rest. Every flicker is a welcome, every shadow another coverlet. The flame does not worry about tomorrow. It does not strain toward the door. It stays present, necessary enough. If I close my eyes, I still see its echo bright behind my eyelids. The hush of the room presses low and soft. Sometimes the lantern's glass grows foggy with a sigh from indoors, warm air meeting cool glass. The flame winks, slips sideways, settles again. There's nothing it needs to be but here. Out in the night, darkness leans against the wall, patient. It is not an intruder. It keeps all things secret and safe. The flame rests. The house rests too. I listen for distant steps, but tonight all things are slow. The lantern's beat is steady as a tired heart. Shadows nod. Boredom sacred. The hush after prayer, Lord, I am here beside this gentle fire. If you are far, let your light be near. If you are near, let me rest in your shadow. The lantern burns lower now, not fighting the dark, just shining quietly inside it. There is enough light for waiting, enough warmth for one tired soul. The flame sinks, rises, sinks again, like eyelids closing, like hands folding into sleep, like a body wrapped in the comfort of being seen, steady, unhurried. Tonight, the flame and I keep company in the quiet. Nothing to do but breathe. The dishes have been cleared from the table. Someone hums far off, maybe in the other room or out in the yard, but I don't pay much attention. It's just after eating. I find my hands still, resting on wood worn smooth as water. There's a basket in the corner filled with tunics, washed this morning, drying all day in the sun. Not many, just enough for the week. I bring it close, and the closeness is a comfort. One tunic at a time, never in a hurry, each a little different. Some thinner linen, nearly see-through at the seams. Some heavier, with the faintest scent of smoke and sweet olive oil, evidence of the work done in them. I fold the first tunic, letting the soft cloth fall over itself. It makes a sound, barely anything. Linen brushing against linen like a soft breath in the room. I match corners without thinking, just because it feels right. Neat edges, smooth lines. This is not a chore tonight. The light is leaving the sky dim and blue. I stretch each tunic over my lap before folding it down, smoothing out wrinkles. There's time. No one waiting for me to finish. There is nothing pressing now. For a moment, I think of all the times I've done this. How many evenings, hands moving the same way, slow and the same as before. The world is quiet at this hour. Even the children's voices have faded, tucked into corners or stories or dreams. Sometimes I listen for them, expecting a shout from the road or laughter from the courtyard. But now it is only my own steady breathing and the gentle press of fabric being coaxed back into order. Nothing more. The movements are always the same. Lay the tunic flat. Fold once toward the middle, then again smaller. Edges tucked in. Stack it beside the last, a small, patient pile beginning to lean. With each fold, I feel the weight of the day shift, then settle. The story of the day held in every crease, spilled water, dust, sun, a spot mended at the sleeve. It lives here but is quiet now. No judgment, just rest. I remember that moment with my son earlier. Not the first days, not the day he returned even. Just tonight beside me at the meal, as if he'd always belonged at this table. His tunic was among these, too, clean again. The fabric, when I picked it up, was softer than I remembered. I folded all the same. I'm not afraid to linger. Sometimes the rhythm draws me deeper. The brushing sound, the folding, the small sigh that fabric makes, like a tired body finding a place to relax, over and over. Fold, press, set aside. My muscles know this better than my mind. The ache in my shoulders softens as the small mountain of folded cloth grows. The world feels simple, knowable, holy, in its own quiet way. Out by the window, the last threads of sunlight catch the glass. I watch the way a fold changes shape, the way shadows tuck into the cloth's bend. Even the boring parts, corners not quite straight, hems unfinished, hold their place. Nothing needs to be perfect. The pile grows, each tunic wrapped around itself, each fold a little prayer never spoken, even so it is heard. I think of Jonah once in the deep, not in the words exactly, but in that closed-in quiet. The feeling of waiting, of being held by something larger than himself. Jonah prayed and he was heard, even in the belly's hush. There is comfort in the waiting, in the steady, repetitive motions. The world narrows to a tunic, my lap, the soft, dull sound of order returning to the room. I think God must do this too, make what was scattered whole again, night after night, fold after fold. I pause after each one. Let my fingers rest. I smooth the cloth with my palm just to feel it again. These are small things. There's no crowd, no miracle here. Only a muscle learning to slow down, a heart learning to stay. No words come to mind, only breath. Only the sense that as the pile grows and the sky deepens, something good is returning to its place. I do not hurry. One last tunic, folded for the morning that will come for whoever needs it. Sometimes I even turn over a sleeve, fixing it twice, letting the rhythm stretch a little longer, just for the quiet of it. When I finish, I pick up the stack and set it in its spot. The room is almost dark. My hands are empty. The work is done, but I still feel the careful weight of it in my arms. I sit for another moment. Let the stillness do what it needs to do. Tomorrow there will be more mess and more folding. No one will notice, but it will matter. For now, I am content with the sound of linen on linen, with the order returned before the rest of the night. He asked for nothing and still felt full. The night listens with me. Silence can be holy, even in the smallest rooms. This slow, sacred boredom cradles me, closer than my folded hands. There's a kind of peace that slips into the house as the sun folds itself behind the hills. It comes in slowly, almost unnoticed, except for the way the air changes, how colors dim, and sound settles around you like a wool blanket. Tonight he stands near the doorway, not waiting for anything, just standing. He listens. Breath in, slow, the wind outside gathers itself, brushing over stones and empty road. With every gust his chest rises, then on the exhale he lets go, matching the wind as it loosens dust from the step. Evening wind moves gently, past the edge of the fig tree, down the alley, rattling a basket left by the well. He lets each movement guide his breath. Breathe in, hold, the wind arrives. Breathe out, the wind slips past. The sound is regular, like waves that never break, nothing urgent, just a borrowed rhythm for tired lungs. He remembers when the house was never quiet. Footsteps, voices, the clatter of sandals thrown by the door. Now only the breeze lingers with him. He lets it. The wind and his breathing become the only conversation worth having. Even the olive trees lean to listen, their branches brushing each other like soft-spoken words. A low voice inside him prays, wordless but true. No one notices. No one needs to. He draws it in with the twilight, releases it with the hush of wind. God is somewhere in this, between the gust and the sigh, at the edge of every fading light. Out where the path bends, the wind picks up, then rests. In the Father's mind, the same slow question circles. Is tonight the night? But he lets the thought drift off, swept away with the air. Nothing to force, only to notice, only to breathe and wait. He traces the old cracks in the doorway with his thumb. The wood is cool now. Each wrinkle in the grain holds a quiet secret, shaped by years of this same wind. He does not hurry it. The world outside grows softer. The sky lets go of its heat. He exhales again, long, slow, gentle. The breeze carries it down the stone steps, across the field, as if even the smallest breath is welcome here. Jonah once found himself praying from the belly of a great trouble, words carried on hidden currents. The Father thinks of this, how prayers sometimes sound like wind, how God listens, even when all you offer is one breath after another, matching what you hear outside at dusk. He lets himself listen. Distant voices fade. Food is cleared away. The evening is not empty. It is full of wind and waiting and the comfort of being here, listening, until the world turns dark and the breath settles all the way to sleep. The house is quiet before sunrise. He wakes when the shadows on the walls are still blue. The lamp burns low, a small shape of light across the floor. The robes from yesterday are folded, waiting by the door. He moves through each motion slow, like nothing asks to be hurried. On the table, a clay bowl sits waiting, half filled with oil from last season. He steadies it with one hand, then with the other stirs it with a wooden spoon. The surface moves softly, sending wide, lazy ripples in all directions. The oil is gold, clearer in some places, a little cloudy near the rim. It catches the lamp's reflection, shining smaller than a coin, warm, not bright. The house has no sound except for the quiet tick of wood against clay. He lets himself watch, just watch the light move inside the bowl, swaying and settling. Every morning the same. The oil waits still but never cold. He breathes over it, the air making only the faintest movement. Some mornings he thinks of nothing. Others he remembers laughter on the road. Some days he remembers a younger voice asking for the oil more than his share. The memory floats up, then away. But this bowl needs nothing from him. It is just here. Smooth, slow, full. The oil does not rush to be useful. It holds his gaze, a quiet surface. He sets the spoon down and sits a while longer, feet bare on cool tile. The oil stirs, then falls to rest. Like a shallow pond just after rain, its top goes flat and calm again, holding the shadow of his hand. If he breathes too close, it moves. If he waits, it grows glassy and whole. Once, someone taught him the old stories of lamps kept burning all through the night, of prophets in stormy bellies whispering prayers for dry ground. Oil has always meant life when days are dry, when fires need to last until dawn. He remembers how the story goes: Jonah praying in the dark of his trouble far below the light. Oil floating on the water, a gentle answer carried in a wave. Not a storm, not thunder, just stillness. He closes his eyes. The air rests against his skin. Morning is patient tonight. There is no reason to speak or move. The bowl shines back at him, more than bright, less than loud. He is not waiting for a miracle. He is not waiting for anyone to come home. Not in this hour. He asked for nothing and still felt full. The oil unmoved is enough. The Lord knows his watching, his resting hands. He smells crushed olives, faint as a memory. The house grows lighter, just barely. Still, the bowl waits. The oil listens. He remains by its side, trusting the silence, easy in his chair. Even the emptiness feels sacred tonight. Sometimes he thinks, this is what it means to keep watch. Not to fix or fill, just to rest by the lamp and savor the small, golden sea. Night listening, hands empty, peace within the stillness of oil beneath a single, steady flame. Some nights are noisier than others, but not tonight. The house is quiet, settling deeper into the hush of dark. Not even the goats stir. Not even the moon makes a sound through the clouds. He sits by the edge of the window, where the wall is cool and the lantern's glow barely reaches. The bread from supper is still on the table, hardening slowly, waiting like everything else in this house. He smooths the blanket over his knees. He lets his hands be empty. There is nothing left to fold, nothing left to count or sweep or say. He asked for nothing and still felt full. Outside, the ground gives off its heat in small sighs. If there are stars, they are hidden. If there is trouble, it is not here. The night is only long and still, each moment settling deeper like dust. Sometimes, when sleep won't come, he listens for the old roads. Long before suns and sandals, the stones carried many feet, mostly forgotten. Now they only remember what they can. Some long ago merchant, a lost sheep, his own steps returning from the market, always quiet, always tired. He thinks of Jonah, far from the shore, calling out from the deep, but underwater, praying without words. Here in the dark there is no sea, only the earth softening to receive every sound. It happens softly, like the memory of rain, a faint sound far off joining the hush. Not sharp or sudden like a lost goat caught on the fence or a guest knocking at the door. This is something else. It hardly asks attention. Sandals brushing over stone, slow and steady. Ordinary. Could be nothing. Could be wind loosening dry stems. A fox nosing for crumbs left from the day. It could be anything or nothing at all. He doesn't move, just keeps his breath even and lets the sound come and go. It rises quiet through the window, then fades, a rhythm softer than river water carrying something old. The footsteps do not hurry, they do not call out. They are content to belong to the night. He remembers the prayers he whispered, small things, lost in the folds of morning but maybe kept by God. Jonah in the deep praying inside silence. That kind of hope is quiet. That kind of hope listens. Not every answer arrives like a storm or a dove. Sometimes it's only the faint sense of return hidden in the sound of the world going on. He lets it rest. He does not try to name it. Just listens as a servant would, watching for any need. But nothing asks and nothing insists. Even the dog in the yard does not raise its head. In the quiet, he lets his thoughts settle, not hoping for miracles but not closing the door to them either. Just waiting, as any father waits long enough for every kind of dream to circle round. Another deep breath, another quiet footstep, blending into the hush. Maybe he'll let the blanket fall and fetch water. Maybe the night will give nothing else. Still he listens. Let the moment stretch. Let the silence be holy. Even this ordinary hush holds God somewhere inside. The night listens with him, and so he waits. There is a hush to the morning. The front steps where I sit are cool and a little rough, the stone worn smooth in patches where my heel has rested again and again. There are no crowds. Just dew that clings to sandaled feet and sparrows that worry over crumbs in the yard. I watch the road like I have every other day, eyes tracing the line where earth meets the edge of hope. Sometimes I say nothing at all. Sometimes I just breathe and the air fills my lungs just enough. Years pass in the stretch of a thumb rubbing at the hem of my sleeve. The world is a pattern, meal sweeping, meal folding. When hope is a habit, it doesn't ache. I only wait. The sheep graze, the sun climbs. My robe is faded, but the threads are strong. Just behind the skin, a prayer keeps speaking, even when I am silent. I learned once, listening in dark places, that prayers whisper best when they are not heard by anyone. I let them sink, the way rain disappears into thirsty ground. When I rise, it is with care, knees creaking, mind still listening for the smallest sound. The house behind me is breathing, linen at the windows surrendering to the breeze. Each morning, at just the right stillness, I tend to the walkway, swiping away dust and leaves. Lines traced by the broom fade quickly, replaced by whatever the wind brings. This, too, is comfort. Today, the road gives back a sound. Not loud, not frantic. A step unsure, undeserving. A pause. The air between us is emptied of hurry. There is no moment to fill with memory or words. My arms do not reach quickly, they only lift, slow as a curtain drawn wide for morning. I do not call, I do not question. I simply meet him where his shadow falls over the clay. His face is thinner now, hair heavy with journey's dust. I smell river water, sweat, something tired and ready to surrender. There is no judgment, only the soft clink of my ring against his shoulder as I fold him in. He shudders once, but I don't pull him closer. I let him rest where he lands. We breathe, robes brush. Dust rises, then settles back to earth, unstirred by anything but us. Our hearts move at the same pace now, slower as the moment opens and opens. This is not victory. This is not the climax of dreams. It is an ordinary exhale, the kind that happens when there is nothing left to wait for and everything is safe. Let this closeness stretch. Let the silence do the work. Nothing in me needs to say welcome. Nothing in him needs to ask again. Our hands stay soft, folded around each other, the way roots and rainwater mingle unseen. Even the sun quiets as it climbs, gentle on the skin, not pressed or proud. I remember a prayer from years before. Not a plea, not a song, just a line echoing in the lowest place. From the belly of the darkness you heard me. I whisper it now, not out loud, just behind my breath as my arms hold him and the day slips between us, slow and unworried. We do not move. We do not explain. The moment is not for others. It passes like wind behind closed doors. The only music is linen shifting and two lungs mating in their rhythm. Even this silence is holy. He asked for nothing and still felt full. I gave nothing but an open space, and still everything was answered. No one noticed the prayer, but it was heard. Tonight, let your mind linger here where arms remember and nothing is rushed. Let yourself rest inside the quiet, the dust, the easy sky. Stay as long as you need. The embrace will not end. The embrace is the breath that comes after being lost and being found and realizing both are just a part of coming home. After the embrace, the air changes, but not by much. There is no rush, No one hurries. The house is quiet. The joy moves slowly, like dust in a shaft of light. The father steps back inside. His shoulders feel warm, his hands steady. Someone must tend to the meal. He walks to the small kitchen, feet making a gentle sound on stone. He does not call out. He does not clap for servants. He opens the box of herbs himself, fingers cool with memory. Each sprig is rubbed soft, the scent rising quietly. Thyme, a little mint. The lamb is waiting, seasoned already. He lifts it with care, with the weight of a thing that will not be wasted. The fire is steady, coals red and moody. He lowers the meat onto the iron grill. It does not sizzle right away. It sits, then steams, then makes a sleepy crackle that fits the hushed evening. He watches it, turns it slow, no rush. Bread waits under a small cloth, the fold still holding today's warmth. He uncovers it. The bread is thin, honest, good. He brushes off a bit of flour. He presses his hand on its surface, solid but soft in the middle. He lays it by the edge of the fire, far enough to soften but not burn. The smell comes little by little. Roasted flour, old wheat, hands that made it this morning when the world was still and he was just another father waiting. He pours a little oil in a shallow bowl, lets it pool. It's green at the edges, almost gold. He tips it forward, thinks about nothing for a moment, just the slow trickle. Bread and oil, enough. From the shelf, a pitcher of wine. He fills 2 cups, one for himself, one for the son now home, sandals dusted, eyes quieter than before. He keeps the wine low, careful not to spill. The table is wiped with a simple cloth, the same as yesterday and the day before. Plates set, clay warm from his hands. He places the cups, straightens them. No need for perfection. The lamb is ready soon, but not too soon. He lifts it, tests for tenderness, and leans back to breathe. There is no flurry of footsteps, no loud announcement. It is only him, slow and sure, savoring how long the work can take. He asks for nothing and still feels full. The meal is nearly done. He looks at the bread, the spreading oil, the glistening meat, the cups. The room is quieter than most celebrations. There is a peace in the steadiness, in the way each task has its own weight, its own pause. He watches from the doorway for a moment, seeing the meal waiting, seeing his son, not touching anything just yet. Content with slowness, content with the quiet. No one notices his prayer, but it is heard. The feast is ready. There is nothing to prove, only a meal to share, steady as breath, sacred as sleep. Evening folds itself over the house like a soft blanket. One by one, the windows are pulled shut, wooden lips pressed gently together. The breeze outside sighs, and inside, only the cool hush remains. A lamp is shaded. A spoon is set down for the last time. Utensils join in a tight cluster, stacked just so, iron warming iron. Quiet against the worn table. Someone drags a finger along the rim of the water jar to be sure it's full for morning. You can hear sandals slipping from tired feet, strings unfastened. Left by the door, there's a slow scraping as the bolt slides home. Not a clang, but a muted assurance. A hand lingers, just to feel the wood, to trust that the night will keep what we love inside. People settle down everywhere. Someone in the far room hums half a lullaby and then forgets the ending. Pillows are turned, blankets tugged higher, bodies curled toward shadows waiting on the walls. Still, another plate is put away, a cup lined carefully with the rest. It's a ritual, these small closures. each one marking the day's edge, guiding us deeper into the shallows of night outside. The hum of night insects slips in through a crack at the sill, a slow, low chorus just under the heartbeat. The air moves barely, carrying dust and the memory of old stories and sea breezes. The house breathes, softer now. Tonight is quiet the way deep water is quiet, not empty, but full without sound. Earlier, voices filled the rooms and laughter went all the way to the kitchen. Now, those sounds are settled, resting in corners, no urgency left. There are always last looks before sleep, checking the floor for stray shoes, smoothing the cloak by the fire, even when it's warm, just for something to do. Soft tasks spiral inward. A lock checked twice, a wick snuffed out with a breath, someone listening for the smallest stir, finding none, and the house remembers the father's hands, steady and slow, folding cloth, pinching the end of a loaf shut for morning. Every night the same. He takes an extra moment at the window, breathing the dusk until he's sure the road is empty again. You can almost hear him praying, the way Jonah prayed adrift and far from shore, not with grand words, just out of need. In my distress I called to the Lord, and he answered me. From the depths I cried for help, and you listened to my voice. But no one hears the prayer but the dusk and the walls. Dust settles, as it always will. The Father's eyes close too. Sleep perched in the corners waiting for him to finally surrender. Night slips deeper. The lies and longings of the world wait outside. Inside, the house gathers itself, every soul tucked into the hush, every breath folded like a clean sheet. Another night begins the slow, sacred work of keeping, dreams gently lapping at the windows, saints and sons alike safe behind the bolt, watched over by a love that works quietly in the dark. Let this moment stretch. This silence is holy. The night listens with you. The day has folded itself away. The doors are closed and the house is quiet. Outside, night has fallen like a soft blanket. No wind, no voices, just the hush of everything in its place. The father lies down, the edge of his robe brushing the mat, sandals set aside. The air feels cool around his face. Every sound, distant owls, the settling of old wood, fades until only his own breath is left. He listens to the darkness, letting it fill the room but not press upon him. His eyes close, but he is not quite asleep, not yet. He lies there, meeting the silence. For a moment he thinks of the road outside, of lost footsteps, of waiting by the gate, of an embrace that still settles around his shoulders. But he lets the thoughts drift away. Now it is only breath, in and out slow. And each time he breathes, a prayer finds its way to his lips, not spoken for anyone but himself and the God who hears even what is whispered aloud in a quiet room. Stillness holds me. He waits, letting the silence answer him. The room feels spacious, as if the night itself has wrapped its arms around the house. He breathes again. The Lord knows my breath. He feels it in his ribs, the gentle rising and falling. The world could be wide and empty, but he is never lost in it. I am not forgotten. So simple, these words. He says them the way a mother would rock a child. Each time a little softer, a little slower. He almost forgets he is speaking them at all. They become part of the dark, part of the space between each inhale and exhale. Grace is here, light from the night, enough to see the shape of the door, the curve of the wall. He lets the words fall like pebbles into deep water, sending out rings he cannot see. Amen, amen, amen. He pauses, letting the word stretch into the stillness, not a command, not a closing, just a resting place for the heart. Somewhere far back, he remembers the story of Jonah, caught in darkness, whispering prayers where no one could hear, tossed by the deep, lifted by the one who listens in the belly of night. When my life was fainting away, I remembered the Lord, he thinks. The words come like an old song, not formal, not recited, just floating up from somewhere inside him. Tonight there are no needs to name, no requests, no burdens to carry across the night. Only this, breath as prayer, silence as shelter, darkness as a friend sitting nearby, not saying a word. Stillness holds me, the Lord knows my breath. I am not forgotten, grace is here. Amen, amen, amen. Each time he lets the affirmations come, it feels like the night listens with him, like someone else is breathing in the quiet. The more he says them, the less he needs to say. The silences are longer. The words are quieter. Nothing left to do, nothing left to prove. Just the comfort of being met right where he is by the God who sees in the dark, who holds every breath, who says, "Rest now. You are home." A slow, warm hush settles over the house. He surrenders to it, and the night, sacred and boring and safe, rocks him softly toward sleep. Stillness holds me. The Lord knows my breath. I am not forgotten. Grace is here. Amen. Amen. Amen.